Hey, is it too late to make a video about Sundered Doctrine? No? Great. This is now my favorite dungeon. Listen, you take one of the best raids in Destiny and mash it into one of my favorite pieces of content, and yeah, I'm gonna like it. I mean, what else could you ask for? Encounters with unique mechanics, great guns, good armor? Okay, the foot fetish boots are weird, but if you ignore that, you have, in my opinion, one of the most fun dungeons we've received in a very long time. But that's not what this video is about. I'm a Destiny content creator, which means I'm obligated to post a solo dungeon completion, because even if the game dies, my pain never will. So buckle in, grab your favorite snack as I go through tribe and tribulation for the Sundered Doctrine solo experience. Oh, I did it. And I only died once. Okay, guess we're done here. All right, let's see here. Super, special, awesome, solo, Sundered Doctrine, parentheses, hunter, and post. And post. Come on, work with me here. Why can't I just post my video? Everything should be fine. And who turned up the lights in this? All right, I'll bite. What the hell are you supposed to be?
I am the YouTube algorithm.
Why do you look like Galleon from... You know what? I just realized I don't actually care. Just let me post my video so I can get my 50 views and go play literally anything else.
Your video is not yet complete.
What are you talking about? It's a solo completion. That's the whole video.
Your video is not yet complete.
Yes, it is. Sure, it's not a perfect run, but it's not like I'm one of those players who do like 50 master completions for fun, so I'm good here.
Your video is not yet complete.
Okay. What more could you possibly want from me? The solo experience was I died like an idiot and then I beat it. So unless you want me to go back and do it all over again without that one death so I can put flawless in the title, I failed to see how... Ah, fuck. Well, since I can't really leave the video, I guess I'll talk about actually, completing the dungeon. Now, there's a bunch of endgame hunter builds I could take into this. Gerfalcon's build, using the new On the Prowl aspect to abuse infinite invisibility. An Ascension build, focused on spamming out abilities while maintaining constant damage resist. Whatever this is. Unfortunately, all of those pale in comparison to the ability of Combination Blow and just hitting things until they die. Oh, you don't believe me? Of course, of course. Observe.
Now that's a lot of damage!
Yes, I'm choosing the most boring hunter build possible. As much as I'd like to run gunpowder gamble spam, I'm playing Destiny, so there's a very strong inverse correlation between survivability and actually having fun. And with the build settled, I head into the first attempt for solo flawless. The first encounter is pretty simple. The idea behind this encounter is assembling the truth on this center wheel using symbols from Valve the Disciple, with each round leaving more blank spaces. To fill the blank spaces, you kill these lens bearer subjugators, pick up the lenses, place them into these stands, and rotate them so they redirect light from the center mirrors to shine onto a wheel located in one of the 4 rooms, making the symbol on that wheel appear on the center wheel. When 3 symbols appear, it will check the statement those 3 symbols make, and if those symbols form a true statement, then you move on to the next round. Complete 3 rounds and you complete the encounter. It's a really cool mechanic that makes the symbols actually mean something rather than really colorful clip art with names. But between you and me, I'm like 90% sure Bungie only made this encounter so we couldn't make weird callouts like Godball, Disappointed Parents, and Bleached Butthole. I'm still gonna call them that. But in order to input the truth statement, you need to find and kill this truth seeker, which drops the correct symbol leading you to the true— Just kidding! That strategy is for losers! I'm Blade of Spades, king of overcomplicating things for no reason. I don't have time to search the rooms for some dumb truth seeker to tell me what to do. I can figure it out myself. Since the encounter only has a set number of symbols, all I actually need to do is make a mental list of all 11 possible true statements and use process of elimination elimination based on which of the 4 symbols appear in the rooms, letting me complete the encounter without ever killing the Truth Seeker. On top of that, if I also keep a second mental map of where to put and point the lenses, I can reach each wheel in 2 to 3 lenses, which speeds up the entire encounter. Is this all insane? Maybe. Should I have just drawn a map for reference instead of committing all of this to memory? Probably. But by keeping a mental note of all this information, and I tested, you save a grand total of 1 minute and 24 seconds. Which is an absolutely huge time save. Think about all the things I can do with that extra minute and a half. Alright, well, that last one's just mean. All things considered, this encounter is basically a formality for the rest of the dungeon. As long as I quickly deal with lens bearers, this should be pretty easy.
Hello there.
Alright, fine. I guess I'll address that. Combination blow is pretty stupid, but that comes with a tiny little asterisk attached to it. Without 3 stacks, I turned the slap of God into the light tap of cotton candy. And while it should be easy to keep track of these stacks and kill enemies to keep constantly refreshing the uptime, well... yeah, I have no idea what's going on here. So I needed a plan B. Some sort of super powerful one-shot weapon to make sure I always had a way to kill subjugators. I wonder if there's anything that fits that build. Oh yeah, I know this is a side tangent nobody really asked for, but I've really begun to enjoy Parasite, and I don't really see anybody talking about it, so I will. So many dungeon encounters now have infinite spawning adds and key targets with big health, and it's a weapon that charges based on killing enemies and does a huge burst of damage in one shot. By just doing the encounter normally, you basically guarantee that Parasite always has a full 20 stacks of
Be gone, fuck!
So in my second attempt, I used the combined powers of Combination Blow and Parasite to get rid of the subjugators, get the lenses, and complete the puzzle by inputting the statements Eyes Cheer Butthole, Godball Disappointed Parents Blueberry, and Doritos Square Up Mommy. You know, classic Destiny lore. And with that, I have the first encounter complete in about 15 minutes. A pretty easy starting puzzle-like encounter. So after traversing through a short maze and going through the Indiana Jones obstacle course, I reach Encounter 2, which introduces the first boss, the Zoetic Block Set. But before I talk about how I actually beat this encounter, I just need to say, this boss is so sick! Instead of making the boss guard the door you need to advance, they made the boss the door itself. I mean, its name is just the Living Lock Set. You are literally fighting the dungeon itself. And there are like 4 of these things. They just took the concept of multiple bosses in one from Ranix and made it cooler. And Ranix was already pretty cool. I mean, who thinks of these amazing... Right? There's an encounter to this. Now, this encounter can be a lot, but for those of you who have no idea what's going on, I'll try to explain it best I can. There are 4 wheels, each with a glowing active symbol. As the encounter progresses, the lock set will scan each wheel, causing a different effect based on which active symbol it reads. But the most important one is penetration, which will cause the boss's shields to crack and allow you to do damage. So the goal is to set up all the wheels with symbols that make the damage phase the least chaotic. To do this, you need to kill wizards to pick up their knowledge and deposit it into pedestals in front of the wheel to shift the active symbol by the number of knowledge you put in. So for instance, if you wanted to get the square up symbol on this wheel, you would just need to input 3 knowledge, which would cause this glowing ring to move 3 spaces. What's this? Oh, right. Minor mistake. The active symbol actually shifts 1 slot on its own for something. I think it's based on a timer. I don't know. You know what? For the sake of this explanation, let's just assume it only shifts once during the encounter, meaning you actually only need 2 knowledge to move the active symbol forward to... Okay, you really couldn't put this on the other note? Oh, okay. So another minor note, if you notice, the wheel inside the wheel is actually moving clockwise, which corresponds to the direction the symbols shift. But you can actually change the direction by shooting this little spike to make it move in the other direction. So as long as we make sure the wheels spin in the direction we want, we can always have it done in 3 or less shifts, right? Okay, good. But when the Zoetic lock set reaches the rightmost wheel, it will read the symbol and show it on the corresponding slab, locking that symbol into place and... What? That's how it works. What do you mean they don't lock in place? What could the slab possibly mean if not locking the symbol in place? It doesn't mean anything! So, the rightmost slab will show the symbol for reasons, and then you have to... actually, I just thought of a way easier way to explain this encounter. I'm just gonna change this graphic a bit. Okay. So this symbol means hurt the boss. And these symbols mean don't hurt the boss. Hey, what about that damage strategy? Yeah, remember that? This is a boss encounter. Let's just talk about that. The fun part about this damage phase is that it's a full 80 seconds, one of the longest for dungeons, which means I've got a lot of time to unload into this thing. It's a shrieker, so their crit spot is pretty easy to hit. I could probably just throw together a golden gun build to chunk this boss with still hunt from a safe distance, and I could probably knock this out in about 5 to 6 phases. Oh, so this game hates me. So hunters don't have their classic DPS strats. That's fine. You know, there are 4 targets that all share the same health bar, which means I could quadruple my damage if I hit all 4 of them. I mean, how hard could it be to find a new strat with that? Without crit damage, precision weapons are out the window, including Hunter's best damage super, and even if Golden Gun did work, we're not fighting one boss, we're fighting 4 duct taped together, so conventional strats are actually pretty ineffective here. I tested loads of strategies and nothing really worked out for me. Anarchy with Tether is too ammo inefficient, Grand Overture just leads to me being beamed down, the Merciless 2-phase. Okay, honestly, I might just be too dumb for this one. Hunters just kinda don't have a really good way of dealing damage throughout the entire phase. But that's when it hit me. I don't actually need to do the entire thing. These strategies all assumed I would put penetration at this wheel to get the maximum length, but if I were to put it on this wheel, I would instead get rapid fire damage phases that last about 10 seconds. And big brain, shorter damage phases means less time, means less thinking, means easy encounter. So let me introduce to you my new strategy, Storm's Edge Spam. The blue kitchen knife is currently more viable than Golden Gun. My life is a nightmare. Storm's Edge allows you to hit multiple shriekers at once by aiming between them and letting the spin attack circle around to hit 2 at once, and is quick enough to pull off all 3 spins before damage ends. And since I decided to lobotomize myself with the punch build, I can run a combination of dynamo and hands-on mods to increase super generation for punches and dodges. You know, the only 2 things this build does, effectively turning my 10-minute super cooldown to 40 seconds. But in order to really make this work, I needed a different heavy weapon. Some sort of burst weapon. Something that could deal just a huge chunk without too much setup. I got you! You thought I was done talking about this thing, didn't you? This isn't a video about the solo dungeon. It's an advertisement for Parasite with a solo completion in it. By aiming towards the end of one shrieker, the explosion radius is actually big enough to hit 2 at the same time. And while you can increase the impact damage, the extra splash damage does help in the long run. If you're planning to do your solo run on Hunter, I'm not sure why you would when Titan exists, but if you do, put this thing in your back pocket. It's just so good. But anyway, this is probably the most whack damage setup I've ever devised for a single encounter. But here's the strategy. 1. Kill the wizards for knowledge. 2. Insert enough knowledge that the rightmost wheel reads penetration. 3. Build super and wordless hunger by being brain dead. 4. Wait for the lock set time to reach 3/4. 5. Get radiant with a melee kill. 6. Jump and fire parasite right as damage starts. 7. Immediately turn and activate Storm's Edge on this little spot, hitting both shriekers. 8. Go invis again so the boss loses track. 9. Land and reload Parasite. Hey, Bungie. Please give Parasite a catalyst that gives it auto-loading. That would be so very cool and awesome. And congratulations. You've only got to do that 8 more times. Now here's the part where I would explain how this is much more difficult than it sounds, but no, that's pretty much it. To be honest with you, this strat is super boring. I don't think Bungie accounted for people doing it this way. Since I'm basically resetting the boss every round, half the symbols just don't ever show up, which means I never have to deal with any of those effects. It just kind of feels like a waste. With how unique this encounter is, it's a shame that the easiest strategy involves ignoring most of it. Part of me kind of wishes I did it the normal way, just so there could be a bit more challenge to it and I could really interact with it the way the Bungie intended. But then I remembered this is solo flawless and any morals I had left a long time ago. And after 8 short damage phases, all it took was 1 more Storm's Edge to defeat the Zoetic lock set. And after playing with some balls to unlock the door, I head forward to face the last encounter. So after a quick traversal section, lining up some mirrors and brainlessly killing more enemies with the world's lamest build, we get to the hardest part of this dungeon. Welcome to the final boss of the dungeon. To the untrained eye, you just see a wall, but for an experienced solo dungeon player like me, I see it for what it is. A nearly unstoppable, instant-killing, run-ending machine. But don't worry, I know this secret trick to get past it. Yeah, you just shoot it and then run through really quickly. Okay, yeah, I'll stop now. And so we reach the true final boss of the dungeon, Karev, the Erase. And I'm just gonna throw it out there, this is my absolute favorite encounter of all time. It goes back to that puzzle-like idea from the first encounter where you have mirrors shining on symbols to create statements. But instead of having to form the path yourself, you just need to disconnect or reconnect them. This center wheel behind the boss has 6 symbols showing at once, with each side of the wheel forming a statement, one true and one false. For instance, on this wheel we have Godbulb Penetrate Blueberry and Eyes Cheer Butthole. Okay, fine. I'll use their actual names. Since Traveler Kill Guardian is a lie, we need to make sure that all the left symbols glow and all the right symbols don't. To do that, you need to go through 4 different areas, each with a certain set of symbols. From there, you kill the subjugators to spawn attendants, which you then kill to get a buff called Unwritten Empowerment. Unwritten Empowerment allows you to shoot these splinters, locking the mirrors in place. With the splinters destroyed, we can then turn the mirrors to make sure the light points at symbols we want to glow and turn them away from symbols we want to remain off. Now you might be wondering, isn't this dungeon about truth? Why would we want the lie to be active? And that's pretty simple to explain. We're gonna set it on fire. After interacting with this cool rock in the center room, the entire area will go up in flames in about 10 seconds. And if you put in the lie, the boss's shield burns away because I don't really know why. The point is, the fire burns away the boss's shield, allowing us to do damage. And all we have to do to avoid getting burnt ourselves is to hide behind some shade, because just like in real life, if the fire can't see you, it can't hurt you. And after the fire burns off the boss's protective layer of sunscreen, all that's left is to do as much damage as possible, hide when they turn back on the space heater, and do it all over again. Now, as much as I'd love to prove Parasite's the
Weapon above all weapons,
this encounter really isn't built for it. But with that out of the way, I'll need another heavy weapon. Something that it's Queensbreaker. No, that's it. There's no joke. It's Queensbreaker. Maybe Sleeper? No, that sucks actually. It's Queensbreaker. I think someone at Bungie really likes this weapon because they absolutely juiced this thing with the triple shot. And that alone was enough to make it one of the most prominent precision weapons currently in the game. But then some guy looked at it and went, you know what this really needs? A perk that makes it reload itself just by shooting it. Anyway, there's not a lot to actually soloing this encounter. I've pretty much memorized where each of the symbols are, and I am now declaring myself the official master of Sundered Doctrine. Even in the damage phase where the boss will actively try to attack you, there's really not anything to worry about. The main threat during damage phase is getting too close to them because they have an attack that can pull you towards them and an attack that suspends you, which would be absolutely terrifying if they didn't get stopped by a slightly tall ledge. So, not really an issue. The real challenge of this encounter is dealing with Karev's AI because it is really weird. Sometimes they'll just hide in the back to stare at you, other times they'll just start slamming their face into this pillar. But the weirdest part is when their health gets below a fourth and they just sort of give up. They don't even try to chase you down anymore, they just go to the center and sit there. Are you okay, man? Does it make the boss a little bit of a pushover? Maybe. But to be honest with you, I'd rather have this given that the alternative is, what the hell is happening? Ah! Anyway, by using a super efficient damage quick swap build combining Celestial Golden Gun, the Great Prismatic and Smoke Bomb combo, and Queensbreaker, this boss becomes a really easy 4 phase. A completely clean, perfectly executed. Okay, fine, it was a 5 phase. In my defense, aiming is very hard when your damage strat involves a grenade that turns the head hitbox into the freaking sun! But with Karev finally defeated, I have successfully solo flawless Sundered Doctrine. I went into this hating the idea of doing solo flawless, but doing this really showed me that it wasn't all that bad. I think what I really like about this dungeon is that they're beginning to reel it back in for solo players. In my opinion, dungeons recently have been a pain to solo due to some overly chaotic encounters with some really unnecessary length without adding anything to the experience. Get back in the corner, Vespers! But for once, the dungeon didn't feel like a complete slog to go through. Encounter mechanics had a lot of complexity, but didn't overstay their welcome. And I really enjoyed how if you're experienced in the game's lore, you could actually solve a lot of the puzzles yourself without using the hints dropped by the Truth Seekers. Maybe particle reconstruction is currently tipping the scales, but the entire experience felt pretty tightly packed. I've never really been a fan of solo flawless. The idea of constantly resetting attempts based on small mistakes never really meshed well with me, but this was way more fun than I expected. Maybe I'll go back and flawless all the dungeons I've never bothered to try. Or
maybe I'm good with just this one. All in all, solo flawlessing Sundered Doctrine may not have been the torturous journey I thought it was gonna be, but I think is a testament to the work Bungie puts into improving with each dungeon experience. And that, my friends, is the Sundered Doctrine solo flawless experience. Okay, can I go now? You got your stupid flawless video.
There is still more to do.
Okay, listen. I get that maybe putting a little more effort than just posting a solo clear might be more my thing, but I went through the entire dungeon, did the whole wrap-up thing. I even explained how the dungeon works, mostly. Point is, there was really nothing else to make a video about.
There is still more to do.
Will you stop? It's over. That's the solo flawless experience. It's just brain dead hunter gameplay and remembering a couple of pictures. We're already 3 months behind schedule, and I'm not even sure this dungeon is relevant anymore. And even if it was, it'd be a wonder if people are actually seeing this. Nobody does solo dungeons on a hunter. The other two classes are way more popular for that. I hate you. Okay, fine. This is what we're doing now? Fine. You know, why even play Hunter? Hunter for solo dungeons suck anyway. In fact, let's go over here, take this dial, turn it all the way down to baby mode, and oh, would you look at that? It's Titan time. And I don't even need to decide what build to use. If you've played this game at all this season, you've learned that Storm's Keep is stupid strong. So here's the build I threw together in 5 minutes. You could tell because I didn't even bother to make the drip look better. It's Arc Titan with insurmountable skull fort, ballistic slam, and the only 2 aspects that matter. And alright, full stop here. I'm gonna be completely honest. I don't play Arc Titan, and I didn't even know if this build was gonna work. The only reason I put this build together is because I saw Skull Fort got changed and thought spamming constant ballistic slams would be very funny. I didn't really expect it to do much of anything. I was incredibly wrong. As it turns out, constantly throwing your body at Mach 5 into a group of enemies is a very effective way to kill everything around. And for anything I can't just one-shot with my face, all I have to do is plop down a barricade, put a couple of arrows in their head, and watch that health bar drain from Storm's Keep Bolt Charge. Storm's Keep. More like Storm's keeping the subclass relevant. It's funny because Arc Titan is shit. I mean, sure, having to run and jump before every melee isn't the most natural thing, but the first encounter still only took about 15 minutes to beat. I'm starting to get why everyone uses Titan. This is busted. There's not a single thing in this entire game that could kill me now. Alright, well, maybe I deserved that one. So after role-playing as Buggy from Marvel Rivals for a while, I avoid touching the pyramid's balls this time and reach the Zoetic lock set. Now, I could probably just replicate the same strategy I did before, replacing Storm's Edge with Thunder Crash. It would be just as easy, if not easier, given how much better Thunder Crash is. Unfortunately, I watched a YouTube video 3 days before attempting this. May I introduce to you Le Monarch Damage? Yes, I'm serious. Don't think it'll work? Why don't you sit down? Let a real gamer show you how it's done. Yep, it's just this for 80 seconds, and then you hit the super button. If you want proof that Bolt Charge is super strong, here it is. I get that this is one of the longest damage phases in the game and that this strategy is only possible this season because of the perfect combination of artifact perks, but come on, that's a 2-phase with a primary. You're not gonna convince me that this isn't super dumb. And it's as easy as it looks, really. You sit on this ledge, drop a barricade, shoot the boss, refresh your barricade every time it's up, and pop super for massive damage. No need for ammo conservation, even a dunce like me can screw this up. Don't look at that. That was a fluke. The next run went way smoother. I meant the run after the next one. Now that one was really clean and... Alright, full disclosure, I died like 5 times. Look, I wish I could tell you the one thing that kept screwing me up on this particular section, but I'm gonna be real cheap, I don't even know what I was doing. The ledge, moron. Land on the ledge. And then when I died 1 minute into the run from a subjugator suspending me while all of his friends executed me like a firing squad, I really began to question what I was doing with my life. So after taking a break to eat a sandwich and crying uncontrollably from the thought I still have another run after this, I restarted the dungeon doing a quick speed run of first encounter.
I then proceeded to unleash my inner gamer rage, wiping out the entire room in second encounter, and take off nearly a third of the boss's health perfectly on the first try. Except, maybe I was just hungry.
I didn't end up two-phasing the boss because I decided to play a little safer rather than die another 5 times.
But with one final Thunder Crash to the socket, the Zoetic lock set was defeated. Oh crap. Okay, as I was saying, with the Zoetic lock set defeated, there was only one encounter left to go.
And so I quickly defeat the door mini-boss with 2 fusion rifle shots and face Karev once more. And I'm not even gonna sugarcoat it, it's even easier than before. Remember how I said that this boss gets completely stopped by a slightly tall ledge? Well, it turns out that actually scales with how high the ledge is. So if you were to, say, stand on top of a door frame and look down on the boss like the peon they are, they cannot do anything to stop you as you unload your entire reserves into their face. And since this ledge just also happens to be in a shadow, you don't even have to worry about the whole burning mechanic killing you. The only real downsides are that the boss can use your barricade against you by standing at a weird angle where you can't shoot them from, and Thunder Crash can really screw you up since you're essentially going from, haha, you can't hurt me from down there, to, okay, wait, hold on, we can talk about this. But other than that, the rest of the encounter is a breeze. In the end, it took me about 6 phases to kill the boss, which seems like a lot, but in my defense, I don't think it's really my fault when the boss decides to take their time strolling down the aisle like a supermodel. But all it took was one last Thunder Crash to fully take out the boss, and after 7 tries, that's the Sundered Doctrine solo flawless experience on tight.
But I bet that doesn't even matter to you. You just want to see the Warlock strat now, don't you?
Well, get ready for disappointment, because I'm about to pull out the absolute worst Warlock gameplay of your lives. Now, if it wasn't clear by now, I didn't plan anything going into this. The last time I took my Warlock into a solo dungeon was back when Starfire Protocol was, usable.
So I don't know what you Warlock mains use anymore. I ended up going with my Prismatic Grenade spam build because, I don't know, I'm gonna be real, I stopped thinking at this point. Attempt 1 was just kind of me going in guns blazing and testing to see if I'd die immediately, but then I remembered I was playing Warlock, so...
Encounter 1 was basically the same as the first 2, so there's really not a lot more to talk about. Now, second encounter is where things start to get more complicated. I still didn't want to do any of the actual mechanics because they scare me, so I decided by replicating the same strat as my hunter using Parasite and Nova Bomb, I could safely chunk down the boss over a couple short damage phases. Or at least that's what I thought! Yeah, apparently I greatly overestimated Nova Bomb since my entire combo only does just under 1 million damage, which means that this entire thing using this strategy would take me about 14 phases. Listen, 9 phases on Hunter was already kind of stretching it for me. If I had to sit through 14 phases of this, I would probably Nova Bomb myself in real life. But since I don't play a lot of Warlock, it was gonna take a bunch of planning, research, and testing to figure out another possible damage strat. But luckily, I didn't have to do any of that. All thanks to my resident Warlock main, a bit of support, who just so happened to be watching me do these runs because sadism or something, I don't know. More importantly, he imparted his great Warlock wisdom and taught me 2 very valuable lessons. Lesson 1, Arc Warlock this season is absolutely busted.
Using a combination of Delicate Tomb and the newly buffed Geomag stabilizers lets you build back Chaos Reach in literal seconds, while the new Ionic Sentry aspects can help blind enemies and keep them under wraps. And lesson 2, how to do this. Why do I even bother playing Hunter? Apparently, if you hug this Shrieker and aim Chaos Reach between the other 2 on the other side of the room, you can hit all 4 at the same time with 1 super. And the regen from Geomag stabilizers just so happens to last the entire damage phase, making it the perfect damage super for this encounter.
Now, admittedly, getting the exact right position to hit all 4 is pretty difficult, but once you learn how to do it, the results speak for themselves. So with my newfound knowledge, I head into the second attempt, using my new Arc Warlock build to speed through first encounter. I mostly did it because I was too lazy to switch, but apparently going from room to room blasting your Kamehameha wave through people's skulls is also a pretty effective strat. And with first encounter done, I complete the mini traversal section and once again reach second encounter. Now, I hadn't really practiced this Chaos Reach strategy a lot, so the first few phases were a little rough, but by the third phase, I had a pretty good handle on where to position myself, making this a fairly simple 5 phase. I'd just like to point out the amount of work it took to get a 9 phase out of Hunter, and I managed to 5 phase this after learning it in 10 minutes. In case you can't tell, I'm annoyed. But with the second encounter complete, I head forward, completing the same mirror puzzle for a third time, defeating the secret door boss, and reaching the last encounter. Now, as much as I wanted to keep abusing Arc Warlock, my entire damage strategy was relying on Queensbreaker, which takes up my exotic slot and locks me out of using Delicate Tomb. Besides, as good as Chaos Reach was in the last encounter, it definitely wasn't designed as a DPS super, meaning I was gonna have to look elsewhere for this encounter.
I ended up just switching to my Rhyme Coat build so I could crowd control rooms with stasis turrets and gain access to some burst damage supers. Also, apparently if you put a Subjugator directly in the middle of a Rhyme Coat stasis turret, you can do this. So, there's that. The damage spot is pretty much the exact same as Titan, except you can out-heal the boss's damage with just a healing rift, which really is just solidifying that hunters really suck for solo dungeons. I just want to be in the stupid damage spot too, okay? As for the actual damage strat, well, I'm gonna be honest, I had no idea what my strategy was. I mean, yeah, just shoot with Queensbreaker, that part's pretty obvious, but for whatever reason, I kept doing weird things trying to boost my damage. My original idea was to use Transcendence and throw my grenade to apply Weaken with one of my aspects to raise damage, which, yeah, that makes sense. But then for some reason, I decided to throw out my melee every 5 seconds to refresh Radiant, except by the time I've redeployed Queensbreaker and charged the first shot, I've already used up like 2 seconds. And then for whatever reason, I chose Needle Storm as my super because apparently I thought the super, notorious for having half of its projectiles veer off to the side and miss their mark completely, just wouldn't do that. Listen, if you're planning to use Warlock for your solo run, 1, maybe get advice from someone who actually plays this class, and 2, just shoot the boss. It'll probably be fine. Karev took me about 8 phases on Warlock, and you know, I'm not even gonna try to make an excuse this time. Yeah, I suck. I'm sure this could definitely be an easy 4 phase if you know, have skill, but a win's a win, and in only 2 tries. That makes for the Sundered Doctrine solo flawless experience on Warlock. And with that, I really don't care anymore. We're done here, right? I mean, that's all that's left. You happy? I'm happy. Goodbye.
You have not yet mastered the dungeon.
Okay, no. Enough of this. The video is already late. Frontiers is just around the corner. Nobody even cares about the dungeon anymore. This is an obligation post at this point.
You have not yet mastered the dungeon.
What else do you want from me? That was it. Do you know how hard it is to explain the same 3 encounters 3 times in a row?
You have not yet mastered.
Shut up! Shut the hell up! I have completed every solo flawless. There is nothing else I can do to prove even more that I am the Sundered Doctrine Master. You hear me? The Sundered Doctrine Master. No, you can't make me. I am not that type of player, and there is nothing you can do to force me into it. Wait, no, please, wait a second. I don't want to go there. Please wait. I'll do anything you want. I'll finally start Metal Gear Solid Abridged. I'll start uploading on time. I'll even play more Rumble. Just please don't send me back, please. No. Ah!